right, welcome to another edition of Buckeye Shop Talk. I'm Brad Goldberg, and joined today by obviously Dan DeLucia and a very special guest, Alex Young. Alex is a left-handed pitcher with the Arizona Diamondbacks, made his major league debut last year. He was 7-5 with a 3.56 ERA, a 1.19 WHIP. How are you? In 17 appearances. First 18 innings in the big leagues, 0.96 ERA. We are very happy to welcome on Alex Young. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that intro.
Hey, when you put up those type of numbers, you get those type of intros, man.
One of the first calls we made.
Love that.
Hey, you were drafted out of high school in Northern Illinois by the Rangers. Is that right?
Yeah, that is.
32nd round. Can you talk about getting drafted out of high school and the decision to go to TCU and not sign?
Yeah, so I didn't really, I guess going into my senior year, I didn't really think about that I was going to get drafted. Honestly, it started back junior year. I didn't even think I was going to go to college and play baseball. I didn't know, where my career was going because I threw 9 innings my junior year. I didn't really have that, my head coach, didn't really know how to utilize me. So, and then going to my senior year, I committed to TCU and, I thought that was kind of like, okay, like I'm going to go to school now. Didn't think I was going to get drafted. Had a really good senior year. Couple teams said, like the Cubs, who I grew up a huge fan of, they were like, we'll take you in the 3rd round. This is the first year of slot money. So, that kind of changed a huge thing. Like, who knows if I got drafted in 2011, what would have happened. So I think that played a huge part, but also I knew I wanted to go to school and at least get 3 years out of the way. I think going to school, it helped me mature as a person, like on and off the field, definitely. But I mean, when the Rangers drafted me, like I wasn't going to go regardless, just because I knew in my heart that I wanted to go to TCU. And honestly, I'm so glad I made that decision because, I mean, you could probably say the same thing, like going to college is probably the greatest thing of your life. I mean, it's just an incredible experience and you can never get that anywhere else.
It's really hard to put a dollar sign on the experience.
Right.
One, from the maturity, the relationships that you build, the lifelong friendships, but also from the baseball side, the development, especially, in Power 5 conferences, and going deep into regionals. It's really hard to put a price tag on it. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we have these conversations with younger guys all the time who are kind of in the same boat that you were in, Alex. And, the debate, do you go and go right into rookie ball? And we've all experienced, well, not experienced necessarily, but we've seen what that grind can be like. But then, the flip side is you lose what Goldie was talking about, the lifelong experiences of college by doing so, even if there is a price tag on the front end by choosing pro ball. That's good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, well, I was just going to say, like, I think when I was growing up, I mean, I went to the College World Series every single year. Like, that's one thing I want to do more than anything. And I got to do it twice, and it was the coolest thing ever. And I could tell anyone, I could be like, you should go to college because the chance of, if you make it, you'll never get that opportunity back. Like, it is the greatest thing ever. I've never been more happy playing baseball. Obviously, like, playing the big leagues is awesome, but like college baseball is just something different. And like you said, there's no price tag you can put on that. And it gives me chills thinking about going back to Omaha and pitching there.
Let's expand on that. What years did you go to the World Series when you were in school? Is it your first year and your last year? Which year was it? So my first year, we were 29 and 28. And then my sophomore year, we made it there. And we had like basically the same team. Something clicked and we went there. We went on like a 25-game win streak or something. And then my junior year, I thought we were going to win it all. Like that was the best team I've ever played on. And I thought, I still think I'd put that team up against anyone. I mean, our pitching staff I think we were top 3 in ERA for my whole career.
So, I mean, we were so dominant that – but, I mean, it was just – yeah, so 14, 15 that's when we were there, though.
What were the first thoughts in your mind when you like finally took the mound? It was TD Ameritrade at that point, right?
Yeah. Did you ever play on that?
I've
Or
never
no,
played
they
that.
didn't. Oh, they never had. I didn't. That's right. They didn't.
We play the Big Ten tournament there
Yeah.
every year. We just won it last year. The championship game was against Nebraska in front of almost 18,000 fans.
Wow.
So, expect similar atmosphere to what you
sweet.
had in the World Series. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's a lot different though, because you have your own fans versus, just a collusion of a bunch of baseball fans.
Well, it was about 17,000 Nebraska fans.
I'm sure.
and then us with our
Ohio State travels well though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I just the first time that I was on the mound in 14, I only threw an inning. I was mainly a reliever, so I didn't really pitch that much. But my junior year, I started against Vandy, and I had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning, and it was a 2-1 count. I threw a changeup to Xander Wheel, and it just cut inside, and he hit it right down the foul pole, like right inside the foul pole line. And I went into our bullpen. I just thought, I was like, oh my gosh, that's how this game's gonna end, 1-0.
Yep.
And we literally lost 1-0, and it was like soul crushing. So
yeah. Baseball.
But I mean, honestly, the experience part, I mean, I'd put that against anything. It was incredible.
Do you see yourself going back to? Do you feel like you'll go back to Omaha once you're done with your hopefully long big league career?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would love to go back. I would bring my kids there, 100%. I mean, like the fact that I got to go play in tournaments and then go watch these guys play. I remember watching like Dustin Ackley, Andrew Miller, Kipnis. I mean, I could name a bunch of guys. Like it was so cool, like to watch all these guys play, and then some of the guys I'm playing with now, like it's like surreal. So it's pretty cool though.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
No doubt.
You got a question, Dan?
More of this is well, I guess if you mentioned that you were a reliever, your first year. And I think there's so many guys that they go to college. They've always been the dude of their high school program.
Yeah.
Always been an elite guy. They get into a program and they still feel that. And there's somewhat of a disappointment. Like, some guys realize it. Like, I've got to put in my time. There's already guys that have, come before me, putting in a lot of work. So maybe talk about like your transition from that reliever role, your freshman year, to then being one of the guys your junior year, and kind of the progression and just the mindset of going through the process.
Yeah. So throughout my career, I started in high school and everything. And then when I got to college, I was still starting games in the fall, and then they told me like, hey, you're going to go to the bullpen. And I was like, okay, like honestly, like, it doesn't matter like where I go, I'll pitch wherever. And I kind of took on that do everything role my freshman year. I long relieved. I started like 2 games. I closed at basically for half the season. And honestly, I loved it. Like the mindset, I was just like, I would get so like worked up, and like I would be on like what is it, the Twitch stuff that you can drink. I just
pre-workout.
I would just be like so amped up that like I was so fired up, and I love that role. Like I love coming in with like guys on base. So for me, like I just embraced it. That was like the biggest thing, because it's like, if you're giving me an opportunity, like I'm going to go out there and do as well as I can. And in my sophomore year, for me, like even though like I had good numbers, it was still a letdown year for me personally, like because I knew I should have started, but I let that slip away. And so I was a reliever again. I started like 2-3 games, and then I went to the Cape, and that was probably life-changing because it like turned my whole career around again. I basically went there, I started, and started every game, was an all-star there. And it was, I'm playing against the best of the best of college baseball. And then I came into to the fall, and they told me, you're probably going to start. But I mean, obviously nothing's given. So, I just kind of went out there, did my thing. And, after my first start in the regular season, it just kind of took off. But like mentality wise is completely different from both ends. Like relieving, it's almost like you give it your all. You have to have at least one pitch working going into the game. I think starter, you kind of just, guys do it differently. Some guys act like they're a closer for 8 innings. Some guys, kind of coast for 8 innings, and like Verlander, where he kind of takes it easy and then he ramps up at the end. So I think there's different approaches, but like for me, I was always kind of like intense because I never knew when my last pitch in that game was going to be. So, I mean, like, a lot of guys say, just take one pitch at a time, and that's what I did. I would just focus on throwing that one pitch. And but my mentality, I thought was pretty similar. Obviously routines are different, but I was just aggressive and attacking guys. I mean, that was my mindset. Didn't matter what role I was in.
I love that. So did something click for you when you were in the Cape that summer? It sounded like you were kind of, experiencing some difficulties that sophomore year. Was it just being more free away from school? Was it the summer ball atmosphere? Can you pinpoint it, or you think it was just a change of scenery?
I think I had a really good freshman year, and I think it was the sophomore slump. I mean, I just think that I got complacent, and I went to summer ball, and I threw probably like 15 innings, and I said my shoulder was hurting, and I just kind of shut it down. And I felt like that got me away from, what I needed to do coming into the fall. I lost my curveball grip. Like I completely forgot how to throw it. And I was like trying to figure out like everything. And then finally I went to the Cape, and I remember my pitching coach and I were like playing around with it, and suddenly it just clicked, and I was like, I found it again. And so I thought that was like the difference maker. And then I started throwing a 2-seam because my dad's like, just throw it like this on a 2-seam, whatever, and just throw it. Like, don't like try to make it sink or anything. And I was just started throwing it, and it was moving like a foot. And honestly, I think like going there and just kind of like experimenting with things, I think that helped a huge amount.
That's awesome. We always talk about trial and error with our guys with pitch grips, and now there's ways to track it, whether it's Rapsodo or TrackMan, velo stuff that we do. It's just such a fun talk to have with guys who are having so much success like you, because we were just looking up your like baseball savant stuff, and your curveball, it has an expected WOBA of like under 150 in the big leagues. That's like unheard of. You see your 2-seam has really good numbers. It's like you think about it, you go back to Cape Cod League in 2016, it's almost set you up for success in the big leagues now. It's just cool to kind of hear where that started from.
Yeah.
You got something, Dan?
Yeah, to expand, I guess, on the technology there is, and you mentioned a sophomore slump a little bit in college. So obviously, still newer to the big leagues for all intents and purposes. How much do you look at, with technology and all this data being such a big part, how much are you personally looking at your own numbers, your own metrics? And then on the flip side, it sounds like you're more of a competitive guy that would rest on your strengths. And we always tell our guys, to your strengths when in doubt. But how much are you looking then on data on your opponents within scouting reports, essentially with everything you have at hand right now, especially at the big league level, how much are you relying on that stuff?
It's pretty new to me within the last year or so. In terms of my stuff, I'll look at it every once in a while. I mean, I don't really, hype on it where, if I didn't throw this pitch, it's not going to work, or, that people telling me, oh, this isn't going to work. I think a lot of it is on feel too. And Matt Hergis, our new pitching coach, came out and said it perfectly. He said, all this TrackMan and Rapsodo stuff is awesome, but if you can't throw strikes and you can't get outs, like you're not going to pitch. You know, that's what's going to make this. You're going to make this team based on getting outs. And I think I'm like, yeah, it's true. Like, you know, that's the human element. Like, if you can do that, I think it overplays all the metrics and stuff. But I also think the metrics are huge because, you know, it really could help a guy who needs to work on his curveball, or, you know, where to start a pitch or something, or, you know, where their hand placement is. So I think a lot of that's big. I also like reading guys' swings too, as much as I'm getting, you know, better at it. And I've had guys help me out. Like Dan Herron is kind of the guy who I'd go over scouting reports with before we start. And so that helped me a lot. And, you know, we'd have like the scouting report on each guy, you know, what they kind of like and don't like. And, you know, I'd watch video on guys. And so I think there's a part that's huge, but I also think the human element where, you know, you still have to be a competitor and you still have to go out there and pitch.
Let's go to this. Let's go back to that scouting report real quick. So when you're going over it with Heron, how much of it is overlays of your strengths against their weaknesses, or if you see that your heat map doesn't match up to their heat map, how much of it is AY's strengths versus hitters' weaknesses, or are you attacking hitters' weaknesses? You know, how much do you delve into that?
It's a lot. Like, for the most part, it'll go off my strengths. But if some guy, you know, is just really good against left-handed changeups, then I can go inside on him. You know what I mean? You know, that's what having Heron is awesome. Like, he's faced a lot of these guys and he watches so much video. And so he's a great help in terms of, you know, hey, like, I know your changeup's really good, and I know your cutter can get inside on this guy, but this guy wants it inside, like, no matter how good it is, really. And, you know, and obviously I'll still throw it, but, like, for the most part, like, I'll listen to him. But, I think I would play my strengths over someone else's strengths, just because, you know, in my head, it's like, okay, like, I'm going to get this guy out. So, but, like, then there's times where, you know, I do that and then I give up a home run. Because that happened to me when we were playing the Mets. Todd Frazier's swing path is super low, and he kind of dives out in there. And that's where I want my changeup to, you know, be like down and away, or just straight down. Like, and so I remember throwing like a really good one, and he just dove out and absolutely crushed it. I'm like, okay, those are like ones where you just tip your cap, I feel like. So, but then I started going inside on him and, you know, got him out. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a feel thing, but I don't know. It's kind of a hard answer though. I think you could ask guys and they'd have a different answer.
I feel like you have a really good self-awareness and intuition about yourself and your stuff. And this is what we try to get so many guys to understand, is knowing themselves inside and outside. You know, we talk to guys about pitching with conviction and pitching to their strengths when in doubt. At what point, now, did you, in college, did your pitching coach call pitches, or did you call your own game? Or I guess the catcher calls his own game.
Our pitching coach called it.
Okay. So, and in college, I'd say, you know, majority of programs, the pitching coach is calling pitches. So
yeah.
At what point then, so you get into pro ball where virtually no pitching coach is calling pitches. At what point were you able to realize that, okay, I know my stuff. I need to know my stuff better than any other person knows my stuff. Kind of talk about, I guess, the transition between a program where you have every pitch called for you, and then all of a sudden you've got to turn around and call every pitch for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. And you know, being in college and like that happening, I never knew going to pro ball the drastic change. And it was crazy because, I had Kirk Sarlers, who's like an unbelievable pitching coach, and guy's like a pitching wizard, and it's a lot easier, you know, just going up there, and he's like, I can call complete games. Like, the guy's a freak. And so but it is crazy. Like, not even thinking about it, just throwing that pitch because that's what's being put down versus like actually having to know, okay, like this is going to work for me against this guy. And honestly, I don't really think I figured out what I want to do till I'd say double A, because I'd say the first season, maybe because in my second season I was in double A. It's just so hard because like the scouting reports, there really isn't one for, you know, the lower levels. And I think double A, it's getting better. And then like really triple A, like that's probably, I'd say probably triple A though, because you have an idea of what guys are doing, their tendencies, unless you face them a couple times. But I'd say like double A or triple A, because it's hard, like especially if someone's calling your pitches for 3 years and you know you're just like a young kid still. Right. So I think that transition's huge, and it's tough. So
right, and I guess we try to get our guys to and all players, even at the high school level, you know, should start having this self-awareness, in my opinion, as soon as they can.
Yeah.
You know, and our head coach always talks about, you know, the best competitors are very self-aware. That's part of that, I think. And it sounds like, again, that you've got a very good intuition about yourself.
Do you have a certain attack plan, AY, against lefties or righties? Are there certain things that you guys talk about, whether it's with your pitching coach or with Heron or with your catchers, about how you want to go against different platoons?
Yeah, mainly to lefties. I like going fastballs away, cutters away, and then honestly, it doesn't matter. I'll throw changeups to lefties because I think why restrict it to just a righty? You know, like I think that pitch for me is like just as good to a lefty as a righty. And it doesn't. I guess I'd go two seam into lefties. So I mean, there really isn't I guess there's nothing that is different than facing a lefty or righty. But I mean, I guess attacking, because I like throwing two seams into lefties too. So I don't know. It just depends on the guy too, because some guys have different tendencies. You know, some lefties may want the ball out, or some guys may want it inside. So, I mean, that plays a huge factor too.
We were talking about this before we joined on the call here, but I think that's part of your success is that, you know, you've got essentially 5 pitches that you're mixing quite a bit. You don't really have, I guess, you know, even the numbers are showing, you don't really have a true sequence that you're necessarily going to all the time. And I think that's probably the hard thing for the hitters is you've got multiple pitches that you're able to throw for strikes in different spots. It's hard to time you up. It's hard to pick apart what you're going to throw when. I guess that's part of your success. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I really learned my cutter, I think it was 2017. And I think that played a huge part of where I'm at now, because I mean, that's probably the one pitch that I'll throw in any count really. And I remember it was this year against the Reds. I think I threw like 109 pitches or something. And I think probably less than 15 were less than 15 were fastballs. So it's like, but then like the next starter, you know what I mean? Like I could throw half my pitches could be fastballs. Right. So there really wasn't like, and I never really was a guy who threw everything. I love throwing fastballs. And then my velo kind of went down. I mean, I threw a lot harder in college in my first year pro ball, and basically I had arm issues. And so I kind of had to change it up. You know, I knew I was like, okay, like I'm like, maybe I'll throw 93 again, 2 or whatever. And I was like, I don't know, but regardless of if that happens or not, I still need to, you know, have really good off speed. So.
Yeah, we were kind of talking like what makes Alex Young so successful, and you have 5 pitches all within, you know, 5% usage, and you throw 5 pitches around 20% each. So, you know, you got 20% chance as a hitter to almost guess what's coming, and then you got to handle 4 quadrants, northeast, south, and west, because you got all five moving in different spots. And then you add that to, like, we talk about the analytics. If you look on your chart, I mean, you have a bunch of different hooks. You have a lot of separation to your curveball and your four seam. Your cutter and your changeup play off each other, and your sinker is somewhat of an outlier to all those. So it's there's a lot to cover as a hitter when they're facing you. So that's good stuff. Let's talk about right now, AY. What are you doing now that you're kind of quarantined up? You doing any training? What's going on? It's an unprecedented time, and kind of why Dan and I are hopping on these Zooms to talk to the people of America.
No, it's a weird and crazy time, but it's also it's good to be home, but it's crazy. I don't want to be home. Obviously, I want to be playing baseball. But I mean, just working out in my house right now because there's no place to go out over here at least. But I mean, I'm playing catch still every day and just playing Fortnite. That's and making dinner for the girlfriend when she comes home. So from work, because she's a nurse, so she's in the front lines right now. So no, it's been crazy though, but it's good to be home and at least kind of take care of some stuff around the house. But just trying to stay healthy and in shape for whenever that call is to go back out there.
I have a question for you. In a regular off season, are you into weighted balls? Are you into like a strict diet? Can you kind of talk about your training regimen and kind of like a follow up where you can intertwine this? Has your off season training changed from when you first got drafted or when you were in college to now?
So my off season training, we work with our strength coach at TCU still. So like we have all the pro guys come back there. So he has a workout for us. It's a pro workout. We work out 4 days a week. We'll start off 3 days a week and then we'll go into 4 days once we start throwing. But I mean, it's not, it's a lot of we'll go upper body, lower body, and we'll switch off. So it's pretty specific, and like we'll have a warm up for upper days, lower days. We'll have a throwing program. I mean, honestly, it's pretty spot on. Like and we get to use the facilities there. So, it's pretty incredible. And then in terms of like eating and stuff, like, I'll do like stuff like HelloFresh or, like meal prep stuff, just kind of make it easier for myself at times. Cause I mean, obviously, everyone's going to want to go get a burger or something. Especially in college too, I feel like that's the time where guys just load up at the cafeteria or, go to, what's on camp, Buffalo Wild Wings there.
There you
go. Eddie George. What's Eddie George?
Eddie George.
Yeah. Yeah. I know my stuff there. Yeah.
No free plugs on our Zoom, please.
Yeah.
Trying to sell sponsorships here.
Yeah, no ads. But and then I mean I would just take supplements and stuff every day, like multivitamins, fish oil, and then make a protein shake, every couple days. I mean, nothing crazy. I mean, keep it simple, do my running. And then I just have so much free time during the day. I'll just walk the dogs, try to clean the house, play more Fortnite. So
balance, man. Balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So are you into plyo balls, weighted balls? Are you into
so
care stuff?
Yeah. So I've been doing Driveline for 3 years now. This is my actually 3 years now. And it's crazy. Like when we first started, we didn't really know what we were doing because none of us really went up there. And our strength coach, Zach Daycamp, he actually went up there. I think it was this past year, 2 years ago. And it's just been a huge help because he knows exactly what we need to do. All the movements, and I like it a lot. Like it's helped me getting warmed up like way easier. My arm feels awesome, every time I throw. If you know what you're doing and you're working with the right people, I think it's beneficial. I think some guys use it for velo. I like using it for recovery, just to help maintain arm strength. I think that's huge. But, some guys want to throw as hard as they can. So teach their own. But I like it for that reason. I do J bands every day when I throw. We'll do like arm care stuff where it's like little weights, just kind of like the little fast twitch muscles or little muscles kind of in your scaps and the back of your shoulder and stuff like that. And then, that's really it for the most part. I don't think you really need to do, people have all these different philosophies. So that's mine. I keep it simple. And that's what I did in college, and it's helped me, every single year. So I'm going to keep doing that.
You got anything, Dan?
I don't.
I have one more question. So so at OSU, we have our trainer, Dean Hansen. He does the same thing. So a lot of our pro guys will come back, and maybe you can talk about how it's a little bit of fear of the unknown when you leave college to go to pro ball. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's great. It's what you want, and it's what you work for. But when the season ends, it's not like team A or team B is like, hey, go work out here, here, and here. Here's a guy for you to go work out with. You don't really know what you're doing. So our trainer here, Dean Hampton, sounds like they're doing the same thing with you. Is he'll write a program for you. How important is it to have that continuity with your university, the trainer, and having that kind of comfort in the relationship you've already built with them?
I think it's huge because it's a place I can go back and work out. And, I've trusted him for 3 years, and, for him to write us workouts and basically go out of his way to do that for us. Because, there's probably less than 10, I'd say 10 places that you could go back to your alma mater and like have that where you have 10 plus guys. We have like 20 guys, 25 guys that are working out with us. And that they're writing programs for us, throwing programs, letting us use all the facilities, like bullpens in the morning, and then lifting. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I don't think you can get that at many other places. So that's why a lot of guys go to spring training early. So I think if you have that, I think use it. But if you don't, then I think you should get with your strength coach, at your affiliate, because unless you're like very intuitive about, what you need to do in the off season. So, but I think that transition's tough if you don't have that backbone.
Yeah, I think that the places where they have that luxury, it's huge. I guess my last question is, you're an Ohio State football fan. How did you become a Buckeye fan?
So I was born in Ohio, in Westlake, Ohio.
Jeez.
Right outside of Cleveland.
Right next to Goldie.
Yeah,
West Sider. And
then my dad. So my dad's from Ohio. He's from New Philadelphia. He went to what is that school? Like All Saints or something, or Saints. I don't know what it is. Some private school in New Philadelphia. And then he went to Baldwin Wallace, played quarterback, played baseball there, got drafted by the Indians, and we lived in Ohio till I was like 2 years old. We lived in Strongsville, and then we moved. His company moved him out to Illinois. But he grew up a huge Ohio State fan, and so I grew up one. And then my grandpa was a Notre Dame fan. I don't know how he became a Notre Dame fan, but I remember going to the Ohio State Notre Dame Fiesta Bowl in 2007 or 6 when like Troy Smith, Beanie Wells. Or no, was it not Beanie Wells? Was it Beanie Wells? I can't remember.
Jonathan Wells?
Yeah, him, and then you
AJ
had
Hawk.
AJ Hawk, Samardzija, all those guys. So, but I just grew up I was like, I'm gonna try to play football there. I don't care if I punt there. I'm gonna walk on there. I was like, maybe if I go play baseball, they'll let me play football there or something. But that was like the one. Like growing up, I was like, I want to go there regardless. But so I have 1 year of eligibility left. So maybe who knows?
Well, who knows with these new rules coming out with the eligibility?
Right.
We can do a draft.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck
for
whenever
having me.
the season starts back up, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.